Howdy, howdy. Bruce Mobile checking in, y'all. So today's video, we're working on this 2002 Ford F-150. This one's got the the 5.4 liter V8, and we're having the treble code, emissions treble code. So all it is emission code P0401. It's a exhaust gas flow insufficient detected. This one is a returning job that we've done. Initially we started with replacing this here differential pressure sensor. They call it something else, but that's essentially what it is. It thing works with the EGR valve, which is located here right behind the intake or throttle body. So we've already replaced the EGR valve itself and then also the sensor on the previous repair or day. We did this initially and the code came right back, guys, so that did not essentially fix our issue. So we're having to dive a little bit deeper. What I'm going to do here at this rate, just to try to cover all our bases with this EGR valve setup, is I'm now going to replace this hot pipe that's connected to this system here, that it pumps directly into the exhaust itself, the exhaust manifold on this here side, driver side of the engine. I'll show you a little bit closer in just a minute. I took off the tire to kind of get better access to it, and then also we're going to probably remove this throttle body and this intake and clean out some stuff in there, which also, you know, is related to this EGR system. So between those two, you know, I should correct the issue. That's the only thing we haven't done. Like I said, I had to remove this front left wheel to gain access to this piping, and as you can see, I've already kind of started on it. I've got 2 wrenches here, one here, which this ain't the perfect size, but it's the closest one that I could get. It's probably like a 24mm socket. You know, it's a little loose fitting, but it's essentially working. And then I got this 1 1/16 inch wrench that I'm combining together to thus loosen this pipe. I did use some PB Blaster to help kind of loosen it up, and then, you know, an extension with this ratchet because it's on there pretty tight and it's rusted, as you can see. And we're here in Georgia, so ideally it's not that whole lot of rust here. So I can imagine if you're up north somewhere, or somewhere that you get a lot of snow or stuff like to that nature, it gets really cold. You may be dealing with some even more severe rust than that, but essentially I was able to break it free, and now I am taking it loose from the bottom, and then I'm going to come back up here to the top and then undo these hoses, which goes to this delta P sensor or differential pressure sensor, and then it also plumbs directly into the EGR valve. So that's what we're working on right now. I will go ahead and get this valve, this pipe removed, and then furthermore start digging into this intake. So that is the game plan. Yeah, walk along with me, guys, and we'll see, because we here in Georgia, in this area, northeast Atlanta, North Atlanta, where this truck is for predominant resides, you got to have an emissions done. So in order to pass the emissions, that code cannot be present, and it is coming back, you know, pretty quick. So there's evidently a severe obstruction or restriction of flow to this EGR system. So we're just covering our bases on trying to eliminate that blockage. So let's dive in. It looks like to me, guys, this whole piece that came loose. So it may just be easier just to undo it here and then work with it outside of the truck. I'm not sure. In all actuality, that may not be the best idea, because I don't think that piece is supposed to come completely apart, to be honest. It's something really good. Oh man. Yes. I don't know how big it is. Alright y'all, so I was able to get this thing kind of broken loose. I know it's kind of hard to see a little bit right now to get some light, but I got it loose at the bottom. I didn't get it loose at the coupling. I'll show you guys when I get it undone what I'm talking about. I'm gonna take it out I'll take it out and show you guys, but now I'm gonna go back up here to the top and start working on this part because that part is free and it's probably not gonna allow me to take it out any further than what I've got it until I start working on this part. So let me start getting this thing undone from the EGR valve, getting this casing cover removed, and then you can see a little bit better, get some more light, and we'll continue to get this pipe on out. Alright y'all, so I took the cover off. It was just 3 bolts holding it on, 3 10mm screws. Take this little vacuum hose off the top of the EGR. There's this 10mm bolt sitting right behind it here. I took it out. It's directly into the EGR valve, and there's one more on this side. But before I take it completely away, I want to go ahead and remove that hot pipe. I'm just going to use a crescent wrench to remove it. Alright. Now it's kind of loose. I'm going to remove this hose as well because I don't want to break it, and I'm kind of putting force on it. Another vacuum hose. These are pretty fragile, so let's just get them out the way. And once it's loose, you can almost screw it out by hand, I want to say. Okay. So that one's loose. It's all the way loose. And essentially, you just got to remove that bottom hose some more, which I'm going to show you guys what we got down there. Okay, so I kind of threaded it all the way at the base here. You got it loose. So I got a little bit more ways to go before it's totally free. And you see the whole base is spinning right from the exhaust. It's not ideally the way I wanted to take it out, but that's the only way I could really get it. And with it being in this tight spot, I figure I'll just take it out this way. And then once I get it out, I can take it apart even further. Hopefully, that's the plan. Anyway, it's kind of on there pretty good. Not the easiest thing to get to, by far. Little PG buster in there. I've got a little more. So now we furthermore have to separate these two pieces. So let's go back on top. Oh, ready? Okay. So you want to remember where these hoses go. Essentially, there's two hoses that connect to it, right? So, two hoses to this pipe. There's a skinnier one and then there's a thicker one. So, ideally, you want to kind of remember which one go, but it's kind of not hard to mess up because you can see the diameter of these hoses. For the most part, they're different, so it's kind of easy to tell bigger one, smaller one. So now we can just take this whole pipe out and let's inspect it, which it doesn't appear to be all that clogged up, so that may not be the issue ultimately. But for the sake of we being right here and we having to deal with this again, we're gonna go ahead and just make sure. Just trying to shine some light in here to see if maybe I can see the light through here, which I don't really see the light shining through. So I'm gonna blow on it and see. Blow test. And there is some restriction in here though, I will say. There is some restriction. So that's the old pipe. This is the new pipe here. Let's see. Which is not the right part. And definitely seems like this pipe is restricted for sure, but we don't have the right one. Great. So we're gonna have to clean this one. This pipe is definitely clogged. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and finish taking out this EGR back off. Don't lose the gasket. Okay, EGR valve here. And this port here is what we're going to have to ultimately clean out on this intake here. I'm going to clean all this out. I start removing this throttle body. Like it's held in there by 4 7mm screws. And there are a series of hoses connected to it. Also, I'm sorry, 8mm. 8mm screws holding this throttle body. Into the manifold. One more. Okay. And as you can see, guys, there lies our problem. I found our problem, guys. Take a look. Take a look, gang. This is ultimately the issue. Ultimately, if you look here, these have ports here. So if you just take a look, careful not to lose your spring here. It's about to fall off. Move that out the way. But if you look here, this is essentially where your EGR bolts up to the throttle body. So you're going to follow this, and you see how there's a port here, there's a port there. Now if you look in here, what do you see, guys? These things are totally, I mean completely clogged up. So it's no wonder that light was just coming back on immediately. So we're going to have to clean this up and get a new gasket for it. I'm probably going to remove this completely out the truck so I can clean up that pipe too, because there is some restriction in that pipe. I was hoping I could replace it, but I ordered this pipe offline. That's kind of what you get when you order offline sometimes. You can't return the part, and that's needless to say, it's not going to be here in time enough for me to, you know what I'm saying, swap it out or anything. So I'm going to try to do the best I can to clean it. It still has some breeze through, but it's just not nearly as clear as it could be, which this may not make that much of a difference, but these ports being clogged up is definitely what's going to cause the problem. So I'm going to have to get some picks and you know, stuff to kind of get these ports cleaned out. So let's work on that. So we're just going to stage that there for now while we work on this thing, getting it unclogged, cleaned out. Okay. Let's see what we got here. These things are completely clogged, y'all. Hopefully I can get it unclogged, because it's kind of in a spot to even get to, which, yeah, we got it, made it through. See, I can see my pick. I don't know if it's picking up on the camera, I doubt it, but I do just want to free up these ports. A good method would probably put this in like some carburetor cleaner and let it soak, but unfortunately we don't have time for that. This should give them straight for a while, and at least through this year. And if it comes back, then I'm just going to recommend we just replace this piece. I think this should hold up for quite some time, ideally. So, ooh, look at all that crap that come out of there. A lot of crap. I'm gonna hit it with some brake cleaner too. Yeah, that's really essentially all that the issue is, I believe. We'll see when we get it all put back together, but that's the gist of it, y'all. So y'all see, y'all figure out the best way to clean this thing that you guys find. Like I said, the best way, the most ideal way, we'll be able to soak this thing in some carb cleaner. And do keep in mind that these are gaskets, and this one don't look that bad, so I'm going to try and reuse it. But essentially, keep in mind you may have to replace it, but these gaskets are still in pretty good shape, so we're going to go back in. They're not damaged, so we're going to reuse these gaskets on here. I'm just going to try to keep it clean, but if you do were to soak it in carb cleaner, you may have to replace the gasket, because then you're going to have to remove it, so keep that in mind, which is probably the best way to fix this. But for the sake of time and resources, because we don't actually have that, we're going to do the best we can with this pick and this brake cleaner, which what I've done so far should be enough to get rid of the code, especially with the new parts we got on there. So yeah, so I'm just going to clean this out, even this pipe, spray some brake cleaner in it. I'm not going to actually go through a thorough cleaning on this, because this pipe here is probably going to require special tools as well, because ooh, this one's pretty clogged though, so we're gonna have to clean it to some extent, best we can. But yeah, do what we can to get it cleaned out. Really, it's a little port here. It seems to be the most trouble. But it is coming. It is not totally clogged, so I think it'll be alright. Yeah, so anyway, y'all, I'll show you guys how to put all this back together, because it was a lot that I took apart. So going back with it, ideally, you know, there's a sequence. So let's try to get through that portion in just a second. Alright, y'all, so let's put this thing back together real quick, right? Alright, so first thing first, we're going to start with this base. Now that we got it all cleaned up. A real nice light. Ooh! Push this on up out the way. And go ahead and set it down. Get it lined up. Get your bolt started. Start the bolts. I'm gonna go ahead and plug in this little tube on this side because it's kind of in the way. So let's just go ahead and put it where it wants to go. All 4 bolts. There's also a pipe here on the back. Let's go ahead and plug that in too. And the bolt right here in the back. Way in the back. And there's one hidden right here where the EGR ideally goes. And then we're gonna go tighten these suckers up good and tight. Eight millimeter, guys. 8mm. Good and tight. Tight enough. Not too tight. Just tight enough. All right. Now I'm gonna bolt the throttle body back. You're gonna replace your gasket. Go ahead and do so. All right. These are 8mm too. all that's back together. Your throttle body screen back hooked on here where it needs to go, right there. That's all good. Give me that socket back. Just tighten down the intake. Okay, that part's done. Alright, so now hook this tube back up. This is a cold air intake, so your intake is probably going to be a lot different, but you know, same concept. Alright, put these where they go. You got this connector, this harness here, plugs into this sensor there, the throttle body, and solenoid of some sort. Now there's a hose that runs back there, but let's put the EGR back on. EGR gasket here. I'm gonna reuse this gasket as well. All these gaskets are fairly new because some of this stuff has been taken off recently. Like I said, I just got through doing this EGR, so it's still fresh. And there's two 10mm bolts and then this long one on the back side, which acts as a mounting bolt and a mounting bracket. Alright. Kind of feel for it because I can't necessarily see it. Getting it started and threaded by hand. Okay. And these are 10mm sockets for these guys, which I'm not gonna be able to get my gun in there, so we're gonna need a racket. Get them in. Yeah. Nice and tight. Okay, so now that's back in place. Then there's this hose here that routes to the back of this intake that we took off and cleaned. It plumbs into that part, and then there's a bracket that holds the EGR that it also braces up against, and a 10mm screw that keeps it close by. Okay, so that goes on there. Bam. Right there. This plugs into the top. Then this goes under this valve here, this vacuum hose. Like that. So that's all patted together. Now we just put that pipe back on, guys. Pipe back on. I'm gonna start it at the bottom. Okay. Matter of fact, no, I'm just gonna head start it right here in the EGR. Tighten it up here. Okay. And y'all know how this thing goes on. I don't need to explain that part, which I may have to take this hose back off so that I can tighten it, because I'm not going to be able to get my wrench in here. So we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. I just wanted to show you guys essentially how it goes back. And then there again, we got our hoses, big hose, little hose. Check it out. Hook that to the small port, the big port, and down to the small port. Boom. You go down at the bottom and tighten it, which that's what I'm about to do now, guys. And that'll be it. That'll be it for this repair. So let's get this hose put back on and take it from there.